This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English. Episode number 85, I believe. But I actually can't check because the podcast page of the website doesn't work on Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays. You may think that's a joke, but it's not. I have no idea why. The only reason I can think of is because it's Rock and Roll English. So that particular page of the website goes out, gets drunk and thinks, fuck working for the weekend. I've worked all week. I don't know, but I am trying to resolve it. Anyway, in today's show, I speak to Dan the Man about experience and just a load of rubbish like that. One thing I would like to mention, because when I listened back to the show, I noticed I mention a lot of things I have mentioned in previous shows, like Dan being a freelance human being. If you think, what does that mean? Go back and listen to the old ones, basically, and that specific thing is his job, in case you're wondering. But the best thing to do, as I said, go back, listen to the old ones. Oh, yeah. Anyway, here is the conversation. Remember, all of the rock and roll vocabulary is on the website, rockandrollenglish.com, except at the weekends, obviously. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking now. Happy listening. Dan the Man, how are you today?
I'm very good. How are you?
Always fantastic, Dan. There's no need to even ask me these days. I'm always fantastic.
Stop trying to rebrand yourself, okay? You're the Mona. Everyone knows it as well.
Everyone can rebrand, okay? That's what I'm doing. Anyway, good Easter, Dan?
Yeah, it was all right. You?
Sure. Were you drunk at 9 o'clock in the morning?
No. But I did watch all the Harry Potter films. Well, not all of them, about 3 or 4.
That is rock and roll, baby. There cannot be more of a rock star than Dan the Man staying in to watch Harry Potter.
Exactly. You're reading the book, though, aren't you?
I was reading the book in Italian, but it's just tiring reading in Italian. It's generally when I'm not working. I did that in the summer because I'm more free, if you're asking.
I'm not asking, but thank you.
Well, I'm telling you, okay? Anyway, how do we start the show, Dan?
With a review.
Oh, yeah, baby. And do you think we have a review?
I know we've had a couple, and I'm very interested to hear which one you're picking.
Okay, well, I'm choosing the one from Jane Klim. I think I may be correct for once with the pronunciation, but obviously I'm not sure. And it says, I've been listening to the podcast for a week. Nice present perfect continuous, isn't it, Martin? And I thought we could ask Dan, is that nice present perfect continuous?
Yes.
He had 50-50 chance there, and yes, that is correct. Great way to start the show with some rock and roll grammar. And it says, and I've just finished my 40th episode. You are both awesome. P.S. Dan's patience astonishes me. Dan, you are my hero.
Have you ever had anyone call you a hero before?
Well, I think she's just trying to make you feel better for your patience. I don't really think she actually considers you a hero. I think it's just to make you feel good. You know when you see a kid crying and you say, don't worry, it's okay. You're fantastic as well. I think it's very much like this, Dan.
Yeah? You reckon?
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm a superhero to some people.
Well, I can tell you now, you are definitely 100% not my superhero, okay?
Okay.
Anyway, Dan, do you know what today's show is about?
No.
See, I wasn't going to ask you that this week, but because you responded so confidently about the review, I thought I would just say this just to bring you down a peg or two. Rock and roll vocabulary there. What does that mean, Dan? To bring you down a peg or two?
It basically means to lower your ego or bring you down a level. But to be honest, I don't care. You haven't told me what it's about. How am I supposed to know? I'm not psychic.
I can tell just by the tone of your voice that I have bothered you. Okay, so when you bother someone, like you disturb them. Okay, so I consider that like I'm winning. Okay, so I'm happy.
Yeah, you haven't disturbed me. I'm stoic.
Stoic? I literally do not know what that means, Dan. Please tell me and the listeners.
So it's just basically a person that can endure pain without showing feelings of complaining.
Sure. That's you, Dan. You can endure pain. Because I give you a lot of pain. I give you a lot of punches during the show. But to be fair, you can endure it, okay? That's why you're a hero. Anyway, today we are talking about experiences because I found out today, well, this week is Experience Week, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And as you're a free spirit, we know you love to experience things. So I thought, let's talk about it.
Okay, sure.
So this holiday, I don't know if we can call it a holiday. The strange thing about it is that you have to pay for someone else's experience, okay? But before we start the show, I just want to tell you that I am not going to pay for any experience you want to do, okay?
If I wanted an experience, you're the last person on this planet I would ask to pay for it because it would be a complete waste of time.
Well, there you go then. We're both happy. I'm not going to pay. You don't want me to pay. That's perfect,
Yeah.
Dan.
That's why we're friends.
Well, exactly. And then I realised why you have to pay for someone else because this, I don't know what to call it, holiday was invented because a company invented it called activity vouchers.
I wonder why they created it.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so it says the best way to celebrate this is to help someone fulfill their dream, okay? And then I've just looked at some other ways or other things that people can experience, and I thought we could discuss them, Dan.
Let's go for it.
Okay, the first few you've actually done, okay? So the first one is move abroad. You've done that. And the second one is quit the day job you hate, even if you don't have a backup plan. Okay, so Dan obviously he's moved abroad. He quit his day job that he hated. But what's the backup plan, Dan? Well, first of all, what does it mean?
So it's a secondary plan. So if your first plan doesn't go well, you have another plan you can work on.
And so freelance human being, was that the backup plan, Dan, or was that the first plan?
No, that's just part of the process.
Okay. And then on the comments of these things, people have actually commented. And one guy said, yes, because you have to do everything in your 20s, like move abroad, quit your day job. But then I thought, you did this in your 30s, didn't you, Dan?
And that's because I'm rock and roll. I can imagine the guy who wrote that is incredibly boring. I reckon he turned 30 and that was it. He's like you.
Sure. Notice he said there you turn 30. We use this, I don't know, for birthdays. You turn 30. Soon Dan will turn 50, but never mind. That's a different story. Anyway, speaking of being 50, when I was thinking about this, I just had an image of you, Dan, of being the guy that is 50, that still goes to like nightclubs and is dancing off his face on drugs. So I said off his face, completely wasted, let's say.
And well, firstly, I don't go to nightclubs, and I'm never off my face on drugs.
Well, this is it.
Maybe I'll get into drugs. Maybe because I've known you so long, I'll turn to drugs.
Well, this is it though, Dan. You don't go to nightclubs now. You never really have been a big sort of nightclub goer, let's say. No, it's there, nightclub goer, a person that goes to nightclubs. So that's why I think you're going to wait until you're 50 because you do everything late. And then I can just see you there, Dan, just rocking and rolling all on your own.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I definitely want to see it. Anyway, the next one is go to Venice. A bit of a different vibe to the next one. Have you ever been, Dan?
When I was 2, I think, or 3. So no.
Tell us about it, Dan. That must have been great.
I haven't. Have you?
Yes, I went with an ex-girlfriend once who was into art. What does it mean she was into art?
She was a fan of art.
Yeah, like interested in it. And she took me there, and it was called the Biennale, I think. And each country had its own room of art, let's say. And I remember saying, England's one will be the fucking bollocks. What does it mean if I say the bollocks, Dan?
Really, really great.
Yeah, notice there, because when you say the bollocks, it's a positive thing. And obviously, we got there, and it was the fucking bollocks. And I said, look, I told you. But then I was absolutely gutted. What does it mean, gutted?
Disappointed.
Yeah, exactly. Because then we went to Germany's room and it just made England's room look stupid.
What was so good about the English one and the German one?
Well, I can't remember specifically, but I just remember thinking, oh yeah, this is great. I remember going to another countries though. I honestly don't know which one. And in the room was just a TV which was unplugged. And that was it. That's the art.
I told you before, I went to the Tate Modern Art Gallery in London, and there was an exhibition of someone. It was a video of someone sat on a chair spinning around, and people were looking at this, like nodding their head quietly, really appreciating it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean with this. People sort of pretend they think it's fantastic. Sometimes you look at a picture and it's absolutely shit, and everyone says, "Oh yeah, you can really see what the artist is trying to do there, expressing their feelings." What feelings? It's fucking shit.
Yeah. There was also another one of someone washing their hands. And I was just like, I do this every day.
Exactly. So anyway, the next one is dine alone at a restaurant. Nice word here, to dine. It's to have dinner. Quite old though. So have you ever done that, Dan?
I haven't, no. I don't know how I'd feel doing it. Have you?
I have actually, many times. I don't know why. I'm a loner, I suppose. What does it mean, a loner?
When you don't really have any friends.
Well,
what was it
exactly.
like though?
Yeah, I can't say it was a great experience. And, well, anyway, the person that commented on this said, it's a fantastic experience because it teaches you to be comfortable with yourself. And I thought, well, obviously, I'm not comfortable with myself. I think I just understood that I'm shit company.
Yes.
Okay, and the next one is to get a pet. Okay, I don't need to tell everyone my feelings about this because everybody knows. But I especially like the comment from Russell Sheldrake, I think, that says, it's great because you are instantly more attractive to the opposite sex. I just thought, is that a reason to get a pet? You think, well, I get a dog, well, then I can show it to women and that will be great. Is that a reason?
Well, would you do it? I know you don't. I know you're not single anymore, but in your single days,
I would rather die alone than get a dog. Is this why you had a dog, Dan?
No, I had a dog when I was in a previous relationship. So, but yeah, it does work because as soon as I had the dog, I was walking the dog around the park. A lot more women was coming up to me. Not me, the dog.
What do you mean a lot more? So even if there was one, that was surely more than what was happening before.
Yeah, exactly. One came up to me.
Okay, and so other things on the list which I don't really want to talk about are things like visit the Grand Canyon, which I've done, in case you're asking, Dan. Start a business, travel across Europe in a car, go to the carnival in Rio. And one of them then, after this, is pay off your student debt.
Mm.
Is that an experience? Is that something everyone wants to experience before they die?
Oh, God knows. I was speaking to an American the other day, and they told me that apparently their student fees for a year were like $30,000 or something.
Yeah, they are. It's just so cosmopolitan now, aren't you, Dan? I was talking to an American, I was talking to a Brazilian, just so cosmopolitan, Dan.
What, just talking to a human being?
Well, yeah, that's more cosmopolitan than me. I eat at restaurants on my own. But yeah, I am actually still paying off my student debt. Well, I say paying, I mean actually just not paying it and hoping they will forget about it.
Mm. That was a pretty useless degree then, really, because you keep going on about your degree, but you've essentially done a degree that's useless to you and paid a lot of money for it.
When he said that you keep going on about it, it means that you keep talking about it. Well, I'd just like to say it because it's one thing I've got extra in comparison to you, Dan, okay? Everything with you is a competition. And when we do the university competition, I am winning, hands down.
Don't worry, boy. I'll get my degree and I won't get in lifelong debt for it, I promise you. It'll be an honorary degree.
Honorary, sure. So what I said there before, I'm winning hands down. It means like convincingly. And another one here, again, I don't know who wrote this, is wake up next to someone beautiful. Okay, something to experience. And I thought this is especially dodgy. What does it mean, dodgy, Dan?
Risky.
Yeah, and just, not very good, strange, let's say. If you're paying for someone else to do it. So if I'm celebrating this holiday thing, and I think, okay, Dan, I will pay for something for him. I'll pay for this experience. And one of the things is to wake up next to someone beautiful. Essentially, that means buy your mate yeah. I was about to say hooker. What's a hooker, Dan?
A prostitute.
Exactly. Different words. Also, I was thinking about this. Many people probably don't know what the word for a man prostitute is. What's that, Dan?
You're asking me as if I'm the authority on this. I do know the answer, but rent boy.
Well, yeah, I was going to say gigolo.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I'm not an expert. We'll go for what you think.
Sure. We found out recently on a full volume episode that Dan is a very keen viewer, so very keen, very interested in Pornhub.com. Hey, Dan.
Hang on, that's not true. I had to do research for a full volume episode, and that came up as part of the research.
Sure, just for the research. He knew nothing about the website.
Can I also say that you've mentioned this in almost every podcast we've done since in the full volume area?
Well, it's something I think is important for people to know. Okay. Anyway, so the next one is be an extra in a movie. And I was thinking, you've done this, haven't you, Dan? I'm sure you've done this.
I have, yeah. Well, not a movie. I wasn't an extra in a movie. I was an actor in a documentary thing a few years back.
And can we see this?
It's online.
And can we see this clip of you?
No.
I think we should have a petition. I think if 100 people comment, we want to see it. I think that should mean you have to do it, Dan. What do you think?
Absolutely not. What? No way.
That's a party pooper. A party pooper is one that ruins the party. Okay, we're trying to have some fun. Everyone's having a laugh, and then Dan just comes along and just ruins the party for everyone.
I wasn't speaking in the role because it was just because it was a documentary. It was just me acting. But at one point,
acting that alone is worth seeing. Okay.
But at one point, I had to get in an argument with someone, and we had face to face. And I was so in character, I thought I was going to headbutt him.
So notice that headbutt. Headbutt is when you you hit someone with your head. Oh my God, how much I want to see this. Please, everyone comment and just put pressure on Dan, okay? He's not a very strong person, so he will give in to the pressure after a while. So everyone, please comment. Anyway, the next one is to have at least one sexy outfit. Okay, so a sexy outfit is like sexy clothes. So Dan, how many sexy outfits do you have?
What do you class as sexy, Martin? Tell me.
Well, I don't know. You've got quite big muscles, Dan. So maybe a shirt without any sleeves. So the sleeves are the thing that covers your arms.
In which case, I've got no sexy outfits, no. Have you?
Well, I haven't even got any muscles, Dan. So absolutely not. And the last one I've got here is to mix up your routine. What does it mean to mix up your routine, Dan?
To change up.
Yes, exactly. So obviously you're a freelance human being. How do you mix up your routine? Do you change from like 3 wanks a day to 5? Remember, wanks is masturbating.
You talk about me wanking a lot and watching porn, don't you? And my muscles. I'm starting to get a little bit worried, to be honest.
Anyway, so your routine, how do you mix it up?
Well, I don't know really.
He moves from 5 wanks. That's the answer, okay?
I like to stick to a routine. I'm not like you. You change like the wind.
How do you change like the wind? I have to go to work every day. That's my routine.
Well, yeah. You're not as dedicated as me.
Sure. Anyway, to finish the show, I've got some advice for you, Dan, as always. It's from Oscar Wilde. Do you know him?
Obviously.
Sure. And it says, experience is one thing you can't get for nothing. Okay? Mm-hmm. Which I thought is actually quite strange, because I remember you always saying to me, you can't buy experience. Oscar Wilde says you can.
Yeah, he contradicts himself all the time, though, so let's trust me on this one, yeah?
Okay, let's listen to Dan. If there's a quote between Dan and Oscar Wilde, okay,
And
Dan is the one
yeah,
we should
hang
listen
on.
to.
And if, when you think about it, I am correct there because, if you want an experience, you want the experience of like being 50 and all the things you can't buy that. You have to wait. You have to earn it.
Well, maybe I can just buy the 50-year-old, which will be you in the nightclub dancing, Dan. So, if you want a dancer who's 50 who will come to your party, call Dan in a few years.
So, are you saying you're going to buy a man in a nightclub? You've been talking about rent boys, wanking, porn. You're starting to worry me.
Well, yeah, and on that note, I think it's probably time to say goodbye, Dan. So, have fun experiencing all of these things, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and I'll speak to you soon.
See you later.
See you later. Okay, so let's look at some of that rock and roll vocabulary. I said to Dan, I thought I would say this just to bring you down a peg or two. So if you bring someone down a peg or two, you make them realise they are less talented than they think they are, which is exactly what I did to Dan. He thought he was talented, important, because a listener called him a hero, and I made him realise, he's not talented. So I brought him down a peg or two. We do that to each other quite a lot, I think. Anyway, we also had the term bother when I said, I know I've bothered you by the tone of your voice. If you bother someone, you worry them, you disturb them, let's say. But Dan responded, no, you haven't disturbed me. I'm stoic. I didn't know what that meant because my vocabulary is that of a 5-year-old child. Anyway, if you are stoic, so it's an adjective, you can endure pain, you can resist, which, to be fair to Dan, he is stoic because he endures a lot of pain from me. We had a backup plan. So a backup plan is like your support plan. Plan B, let's say. Plan A is the good one. If that goes wrong, what do? You need plan B, which is a backup plan. We also had the term turn when Dan said, I reckon he turned 30. Notice we turn for birthdays. It's very strange. It's like we're driving down a street. You're 29 and then you turn down the 30 street and then you turn down the 31 street. Remember, the thing about the street is not true. We just say turn 20, turn 21, etc. We had off his face. If you are off your face, you are intoxicated, let's say. But in the podcast, we specified and said off his face on drugs. Okay, so it's just clearer why he's intoxicated. And we also had the term goer when I said a nightclub goer. So we can use this word for someone that goes to places, for example. We can have church goer, beach goer, nightclub goer. Not always though, so just memorize those. We can't have like walk in the park goer. That's a bit weird. So just memorize those, like church goer, beach goer, nightclub goer. We had the term into. If someone's into art, they are interested in art. And we had the term the fucking bollocks, which is a positive thing. I was talking about England's room at this art show. So if it's the fucking bollocks or the bollocks, it's great. If it's just bollocks, it's a bit shit, really. We also had the term gutted when I said I was gutted when I saw Germany's room. Gutted is very disappointed. Usually happens to me as well in football matches when England lose. I am always gutted. We had a very nice verb actually, which is to dine when I said I have dined alone at a restaurant. Very sort of formal term, not something we use so much. I don't say to my friends, would you like to dine out tonight? Not really. But if you want to sound sophisticated, then you can use it. We had the term loner. So a loner is someone that is alone. Is it loner, alone? It works. Dan said, I keep going on about my degree. If you keep going on about something, you keep talking about it. I would say I go on more about the fact he's a freelance human being, but never mind. We had the word dodgy, an adjective again, which is something unreliable, something you can't trust and can be dangerous. We were talking about the fact that if you buy someone beautiful for your friend, it's a bit dodgy. It's, can't really trust that. Could be dangerous as well. And then we use some terms to describe the people that you pay for sex. We had the woman version, which can be a hooker, which is not a nice thing to say. Although I don't think there is a nice way to say that. I suppose prostitute is the best way, but it's not like if you call someone a prostitute, that's a compliment. It's never a nice thing to say. Then we had the male version, which is rent boy, because you rent a boy, let's say, or gigolo, which again I think is the more formal version, but neither are great. We also had the term party pooper. So if you're a party pooper, you ruin the party. Let's say there's always one person that arrives, switches off the music and says, "Go home, everyone." That person is a party pooper. We had the term headbutt. If you headbutt someone, your head hits their head very hard. Not something particularly nice to do. Probably avoid that. And we had the term sleeve. Sleeves are the things on your shirt that cover your arm, or t-shirt or jumper, whatever. Sleeves. So you can have long sleeves or short sleeves. Incredible. We had the term mix up your routine. So if you mix something up, it's to change. For example, if you eat pizza every night, you can say, "Tonight, you know what? I'm going to eat some chicken." Just to mix things up, just to change things. We also had the term wank. A wank is when you masturbate. That is the noun, can be a verb, to wank, as you prefer. Anyway, thanks a lot for listening. Remember, all of the rock and roll vocabulary is on the website, rockandrollenglish.com, except Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because, I don't know, the website likes getting drunk, I think. Anyway, go there during the week, have fun, do the quiz, but most importantly, just keep on rocking, people.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.